Welcome, welcome, welcome to Review Remedy by ScoreDoc. I'm Ava Dawson, and today we're talking about multi-specialty clinics in and around Bellevue, Washington for 2026. If you've ever felt overwhelmed trying to figure out where to go for care, this episode is for you, because Bellevue sits in a really well-developed healthcare region. You've got Bellevue itself, nearby Seattle, nearby Kent, and that means patients often have access to a broad network of care options, including clinics built around coordinated services.
And I'm Daniel Garcia. What stands out to me is convenience with structure. A multi-specialty clinic can be a one-stop kind of solution for a lot of healthcare needs. Not everything, obviously, but a lot. Instead of bouncing between disconnected facilities, patients may be able to move through evaluations, follow-ups, and referrals inside one system, which can make the whole experience feel less fragmented.
Exactly. And when people are choosing care, they're not just asking, is this clinic available? They're asking, will I be listened to? Will the staff be organized? Will someone actually explain the next step? That's why patient reviews matter so much. People often read reviews for clues about communication, staff professionalism, scheduling, and overall satisfaction. And honestly, recent reviews usually carry more weight because they feel more relevant to what a patient is likely to experience now.
Right. The Bellevue report we're using makes that point clearly. These rankings are based on the last 24 months of review activity because older feedback can be less reflective of current operations. That doesn't mean older reviews are useless, but if you're deciding where to go next week, you probably care more about what patients are saying recently.
And that's where multi-specialty care becomes especially interesting. Coordinated care can reduce some of the friction patients hate most. I mean, repeated paperwork, unclear referrals, wondering who has your records. That stuff adds stress fast. When services are connected within one healthcare system, it may be easier to move from one type of appointment to another and keep your care plan more organized. That can be a big deal if you're managing more than one health concern.
Yeah, and I always come back to this. Convenience can support better follow-through. If it's easier to schedule, easier to understand your next step, easier to know which department you're supposed to call, patients may be more likely to actually complete referrals and follow-up visits. That's not a guarantee, of course, but it's a practical advantage.
A small tip here. Before you book anywhere, write down what kind of care you think you need now and what you might need next. Not because you have to diagnose yourself, please don't do that, but because it helps you ask better questions. Like, if I need additional testing or another specialty, how is that handled? Or, how do follow-ups work in your system? Those questions can tell you a lot.
That's a great point. Another smart move is to use reviews thoughtfully. Look for patterns instead of reacting to one glowing comment or one frustrated comment. If multiple recent reviewers mention clear communication, organized staff, or smooth coordination, that's more meaningful than a single outlier. Same goes the other way.
Totally. Reviews can offer reassurance, but they also help people feel less alone in the search. And in a region like Bellevue, where there are many options, that kind of clarity matters. So in this episode, we're focusing on the 3 clinics that stood out in the report based on measurable review signals, not claims about medical competence. We're talking ratings, review volume, recency, positive sentiment, and ScoreDoc reputation indicators. That distinction really matters. So let's get into the 3 clinics highlighted in the report. Out of 23 multi-specialty clinics evaluated in and around Bellevue, these were the ones that stood out based on the available patient review data from the last 24 months. Multicare Family Medicine, Kent. Virginia Mason Medical Center, and ZoomCare Super Emergency Care, Bellevue.
Let's start with Multicare Family Medicine Kent. This clinic had a 4.8 rating, 22 total reviews, 20 recent reviews, and a positive sentiment score of 95.5%. That's a strong combination. The total volume is smaller than some others on the list, but the recency and sentiment are both notable, suggesting recent patients have been sharing very favorable experiences.
And then there's Virginia Mason Medical Center in Seattle. It posted a 4.1 rating, 95 total reviews, 91 recent reviews, and 76.8% positive sentiment. What jumps out there is the level of recent engagement. A lot of patients have been leaving feedback within the evaluation window, and that gives us a meaningful amount of current experience data to look at.
Finally, Zoom Care Super Emergency Care Bellevue had a 4.5 rating, 341 total reviews, 223 recent reviews, and 88.6% positive sentiment. That is a very active review profile. High review volume plus a large number of recent reviews can make it easier to spot consistent patterns in patient experience.
This is exactly why ScoreDoc is useful. Most people are not going to open a dozen tabs and manually compare Google, Yelp, Facebook, and everything else while trying to make a healthcare decision. ScoreDoc simplifies that process by aggregating review data and reputation signals so scattered feedback becomes easier to compare and understand. Instead of just seeing one isolated number, patients can look at a more structured picture that includes star ratings, review volume, recency, and sentiment trends.
And that matters because raw reviews can be noisy. One person might focus on parking, another might focus on bedside manner, another might, be upset about hold music. ScoreDoc helps organize those signals into something more useful for decision-making. It saves time, and it gives patients a clearer starting point.
Starting point is the key phrase. Reviews should inform your search, not completely replace your judgment. When you're picking a clinic, use the report to narrow your options, then verify details that matter to you. Check location, hours, services, and whether the clinic fits the kind of follow-up care you may need. If you're calling to book, have your questions ready ahead of time. I'm a huge fan of writing them down because otherwise, at least for me, the second someone says, "How can I help you?" my brain goes blank.
Same. And once you do have a visit, confirm the next steps before you leave. Ask things like, do I need a follow-up appointment? Who contacts me with results? If I have questions later, what's the best way to reach the office? Those are simple questions, but they can prevent confusion later.
And one more tip. After your appointment, keep a quick note of what was recommended, especially if there's a care plan, a referral, or medication instructions. Coordinated care works best when patients also have a clear understanding of what comes next. That's not me putting pressure on patients. It's just a practical way to stay grounded in a process that can feel like a lot.
So, to recap, the Bellevue Area Report identified Multicare Family Medicine Kent, Virginia Mason Medical Center, and Zoom Care Super Emergency Care Bellevue as the 3 best-rated multi-specialty clinics in and around Bellevue for 2026, based on patient review trends and related reputation indicators from the last 24 months.
And if ScoreDoc can make that search feel less scattered and more manageable, that's a win. We'll keep bringing you these review-based breakdowns so you can spend less time guessing and more time making informed choices. Daniel, always good doing this with you.
Likewise, Ava. Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next time on Review Remedy by ScoreDoc. Bye, Daniel.
Bye, Ava. Take care.